They're dummy proof, man. We got.
You sure?
Yeah, I've been wearing them, so I know. There we go. All right, here we go, man. Good to see you.
Likewise, good to see you.
I
It's
know.
been a while.
It's been a while. I know
Yes.
it. I know.
Over a year?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be. You know, that's what happens. You get family and kids, and
Time flies.
oh man, it goes by. And plus, you don't have that time to yourself to kind
No.
of get away and go do your shit. And
What free time, right?
I know. Yeah, you were busy today. You got
Yep.
baseball all weekend.
Both my
don't you?
kids had baseball practice, and yesterday they both had baseball games. And so literally I just jetted over here from my oldest's baseball practice. Like, I got to go, bye.
Yeah, yeah. Those were times, you know, I look back on with good memories. You
Yeah.
know, that's what you're doing. You're just making memories when you're spending that time with the kids, with the
Yeah.
boys. And
So I think I told you, I played baseball growing up. So like I'm the dad, like hands on the chain link fence, like watching my kids every move. And lately though, I've been kind of peeling back like the criticism because I want them to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But deep down inside, I'm like, fuck. Like, what was that?
what was that doing? Are you yelling at the ump? Ah, bullshit.
yeah. But now like I'm just saying, did you have fun? Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
You know,
good,
like,
good.
Yes.
Yeah. I was an assistant coach for a lot of years for my daughter as she was growing up. Sarah was playing. She did fast pitch softball.
Nice.
Yeah, and one of my less inspiring moments was being kicked out of a 12 and under.
No
girls
way.
game.
What'd you do?
I argued with the referee. Didn't say anything really too belligerent.
Sure.
But I was just arguing with her, and she was coming back at me pretty strong, and I just got angry. I took my hat off and I threw it down on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, it was kind of a Santa Ana wind day, and the wind picked my hat up and blew it right between her legs.
No way.
And at that point, it was you're gone. So, I mean, it was like, oh, my God. And then, of course, one of the parents was filming the whole thing. So after the game, at pizza, they're showing it up on the big screen.
Here's Michael.
Yeah, here's
Highlight of the game.
Huh?
Highlight of the game.
Exactly. Yeah. And and at first I wasn't all the way out. I was more at the sideline at the end of the dugout.
Gotcha.
And the ref stops the game and tells me I'm either going to leave and go out by the out fence outside the field, or she was going to call the game.
Wow.
I mean, she was that pissed.
She was in control.
Yeah.
At my kids' games, there's signs on every field that says attention parents, something along the lines that says the umpires are here for volunteer reasons. So just to encourage parents, like relax, take a step.
Relax, don't do it. Yeah. I think they call that the Mike Nunley rule. That probably went into effect.
Yeah,
shortly
picture your
after.
face on the field.
Yeah, no, but those are really they were great times. And Sarah played a lot of travel softball, so we went to we just all over Sacramento and
Nice.
Phoenix, San Diego. She went to the Nationals in Oklahoma one year.
Nice.
That was cool. Yeah.
My baseball career was short-lived. I stopped my freshman year in high school. I just got very big-headed. I thought I need to play, but I didn't put in the work. And when the time came, I was very disappointed and upset that I wasn't getting the playing time. I told my mom, like, I'm gonna quit, and she was like, okay, quit. Mm-hmm. And my mom never lets me do anything without her approval, but this is like that was the first time she goes, I'll let you make your own decision. And it was like the biggest and only regret I've ever had.
Yeah.
I was like, why did I quit? Why? But
yeah, what you look back at, those things that we do when we were a kid, and our kids now wonder why we don't always agree with them.
Of course.
And we're trying to guide them. We're trying to put them in the right direction.
Yep.
And we're trying to, I get it constantly, especially with the twins, because at their age, not so much really anymore. We just, I just pretty much more let them do what they're going to do at 19. But, you still keep an eye on them. But when they were younger, like 16, 17, and you're trying to guide them and you're trying to give them some direction, oh my God, man, you don't understand our generation. You got
to give me hope.
Yeah, I know.
My kid's 9 and 7.
Yeah, it's all generational.
Yeah.
Your generation this and your generation that, and our generation is like, your generation just barely knows how to get dressed. Are you kidding me? But having kids like that is so much fun. I mean, I still talk with Sarah about those times when she was playing basketball. I never missed any of her basketball games. I never coached it because I don't know basketball that well.
Yep.
I coached all of her softball up until she went into high school. And at that point, you know, I wanted
No part of it.
no part of
Yeah.
it. And it's better too at that age that they start getting training and coaching from
Like professional.
yeah,
Yeah.
different people.
Yeah. My son, both my kids' coaches do a phenomenal job. So I never step in or say, hey, don't do it that way.
Yeah.
They're really good. So I'm really excited about the coaches, the previous coaches we had in the past as well. Like they're really good coaches.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and hats off to coaches. I mean,
the patience.
yeah, well, the patience, the understanding, the time, the commitment.
Yep.
They're not getting paid. They're not making
Right,
anything for
right.
it. These are just dads that enjoy doing
Right.
what they're doing. So they're devoting a lot of time. And it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, you're getting off work, you're going straight into practice, you're
Yeah.
practicing until 7 o'clock, 7:30 at night. And then, you know, you're
wiped out.
wiped out.
Yeah.
You're going home, you're eating, you're going to bed and getting up, going to work again.
Yeah.
It's a lot of commitment. Your weekends are all gone.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so hats off to, I mean, I love that. I love people that, you know, give back into the
Yeah.
community
Yeah.
some way or another.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool, especially when you're watching your kids, because if your kids are good and they're excelling and they're getting better, and you know that it's got to do with the coaching and it's
Yeah.
got to do with, you know,
Hats off to the coaches.
absolutely, man. Yeah. So, but what else is going on your, okay, let's start out.
Yep.
Okay. On your Instagram.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm watching you. What are you calling it? Something about the old man, because what, you're 40 now?
41.
41.
41.
Okay, well, you passed over the hump, so
Yeah.
now you're officially old. It's
I'm
like,
old, dude.
Yeah. It's like, I think I sent you a message.
You did.
Saying something about, you're not old until I tell you you're
Yeah.
old, dude.
Catching up, dude.
Yeah, you got 30 more years.
I'm catching up.
Yeah, next month, my 70th.
Yeah.
I know.
I feel like when I think I mentioned this on the last podcast last year, when I turned 37 is when I noticed like a difference in like my performance per se at the gym. I just noticed like I was not as recovered, or I wasn't able to go that 100%. But that was the first time I noticed anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't super like dramatic, but I noticed it. It's hard to explain. And then 38, same, 39, same, 40, same. Here we are, 41.
Yeah, are you noticing a decline in your strength, or is the strength staying the same, but the recovery and the workout length changing?
Yeah, so I talk about this with my good friends at work all the time. It is declining, but it's relative. It's not like I'm weak, right? It is declining. So I'm not moving the load as I used to when I was 30. But I feel that I'm more well-rounded in other aspects of fitness, you know, like running, flexibility, just specific movements. I'm a lot more rounded. So therefore, I still feel like I have a lot left in the tank in that aspect.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to really judge your strength or decline in strength or your increase in strength, because it's all relative to what you were doing, let's say in your 30s.
Yeah.
Because I know that in my 30s, I wasn't working out as hard in the weight room as I did when I was in my 40s.
Yep.
So it makes me look at my 40s as being my strongest period of time. 40s to 50s, I was pushing a lot more weight than I did in my 30s. But that was also too because in my 30s I wasn't really focused on how much weight or how strong I could get. I was more just in keeping a certain level of strength because I was cycling more. I was, I was racing bicycles and I was out on the road a lot more, and I was more worried about overall weight and not being too big, not being too heavy. Then all of a sudden I phased out of that, and then in the 40s I started really focusing on lifting, and that's when my 40s and early 50s I was the strongest.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah.
So for me, like going back to what I said earlier, I'm lifting a lot less in terms of like the pounds itself, but I'm doing other things I've never done before. So that's why I don't feel like I'm declining per se.
Yeah.
But I don't bench press anymore, and there's a few things that I don't even touch, like zero. But that doesn't, I don't feel weaker because I'm omitting those specific exercises, if that makes sense.
I think I saw one Instagram, and I think you were doing something. I think that you were doing deadlifts. And
Of course, yeah.
yeah, so you
That's
still
not going. That's not going
You're
anywhere.
going to still do your deadlift.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, what's your take? I was curious about that because typically that's one of the first things that people are going to give up is their
Yeah, I mean, just like anything, it's a misconception. So deadlifts and squats get a bad rap, but it's 100% mechanical, right? With a bicep curl, you can get away with a lot of poor mechanics. With a deadlift and a back squat, you really can't. So if you do something wrong or if you're trained incorrectly, you're going to get hurt. Maybe not right away, but over time you'll get hurt. But to answer your question, I still deadlift. I love it. I'm more of a squatter. I just had this conversation with my good friend a few days ago. Like I just love squatting, whether it's a back squat or a front squat. It's just I just feel more complete.
Right.
Deadlift, I'm pretty good, but that's not my go-to. But yeah, if your mechanics are dialed in, I mean, I encourage everyone to a deadlift. It's very universal for like daily activity. Yes, you're probably not going to pick up a super heavy box from the ground, but your mechanics are still important, like the way you recruit muscles and whatnot. It's very, very important. And if you're 80 years old and whatnot, of course, we're not going to encourage anyone to deadlift with the bar off the bat, but you can still apply certain deadlift principles, right? You can use a box that's elevated to make the range of motion more suitable for the individual, but the mechanics should always be trained. So that's why I feel like deadlifts and squatting should never leave. Like it should always be included in someone's program.
Yeah. That's interesting because that's one of the reasons I stopped deadlifting quite a few years ago. Was because it probably fell into poor mechanics because deadlifts, contrary to a lot of people are thinking, is a lot of your legs.
Yeah.
You know, you're driving first before you're lifting.
Yeah.
And I think that I wasn't always using the legs.
Yeah.
As an important part of it.
So again, there's a lot of things that can go wrong from the start, such as like loading. So I wish I can show you, but let's just say like if your shoulders are slouchy, that's the most common mistake with pulling the bar off the ground. So if you're,
can we see something on deadlifts in the gym?
So if the shoulders are rounded or disconnected, there's a good chance that you're going to be pulling like so.
Yeah.
So that's a common mistake. Another mistake with deadlifts just before you start the pull is your hips being parallel with your knees. So the hips have to be slightly higher than your knees. It shouldn't be flush. If it's flush, if your knees and hips are in the same line, then that's a squat. But some people deadlift like that because they weren't taught appropriately.
Right.
So little things like that before you pull the bar off the ground are super important.
Yeah.
And if you somehow manage to still pull it off the ground using those poor mechanics, then you're going to get hurt.
Sooner.
Maybe not right away.
Yeah.
But I see it at the gym, and it's just like I do a pretty good job stopping people, but respectfully, of course. I'm not going to say, hey, don't do that.
Right.
But like,
yeah, I think when I see, and I think in our last podcast I talked about this, I very seldom go up to anybody and stop them or try to coach them or whatever,
Sure.
because it didn't always get good results.
Sure.
People get a little, especially if you're just another guy working out.
Yeah.
They don't want to really take it unless somebody's obviously really young and just starting. They'll have a tendency to listen. But I see mostly on the deadlifts, I see mostly just people with poor form just bending over and really not using hardly any legs at all. And it's all lower
just
back,
rounding the body,
rounding
just
back.
pulling it
Yeah.
up.
So it's because that's one of my biggest concerns, and one of the things I want to talk about on this podcast is the working out as you get older.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I reached out to you again, because, he's over 40 now, old bastard. He's going to, he's going to like this.
I have it gray right here.
Yeah, I know. But it's because I'm just seeing so many people, and maybe it's just because as I've gotten older, I have kind of been more, it's like when you buy a red car, all of a sudden you see all kinds of red cars.
Sure.
Well, as I got older, now I'm starting to see a lot more older people going to the gym or should be going to the gym, don't go to the gym. So it's kind of now one of those things that I want to take on as I want to get people encouraged as they're older to get into the gym. There we go. There's that.
So the shoulders are pulled back. So another thing that I didn't mention is you want to make sure before you pull the bar off the ground, the bar is making contact with the shins. And the analogy I always give my clients is pretend you're crushing your shins with the bar. That's going to ensure that your shoulders, you see how he pulled the shoulders back? That's what I'm looking for with anyone executing a deadlift. That's super important. And if you get that dialed in, good, that's a good way to start too. But with deadlift, there's also different variations, right? So that's a traditional deadlift. You can do a sumo deadlift, a deficit deadlift. The list goes on. But the goal is not to look for the fanciest one. Variation is to look the one that's more appropriate for you and your goals and whatnot.
Right.
So
right.
typically people struggle with the traditional because of tight hamstrings and lack of flexibility. So I typically will deviate. I will typically have my clients do like a sumo variation, which shortens the range of motion and it's less.
What is the sumo?
So your feet are essentially wider than what he's positioned, and your hands are inside your thighs. So right now his arms are outside of his legs. The sumo is his arms/hands are inside of his legs, and his legs are a lot wider than her hip stands.
Oh, I've got you.
So
okay.
That's the sumo variation, but the mechanics stay the same, but that's just a little bit friendlier for those with like poor flexibility, and it's a little bit safer per se. They're all safe if it's done correctly, but it's
right.
You can get away with that a little bit more.
Is there any? Oh, there you go, right there.
There it is. See, and then everything's the exact same way, mechanic wise. The bar is making contact with the shins. His shoulders are pulled back. Everything's the same. The hips are higher than your knees. Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Got it.
And then you can vary the tool, right? You can do a deadlift with a dumbbell. You can do a deadlift with a kettlebell. So
yeah,
you can make it work for anyone.
That's actually one of the things that I do. You know, now when I'm working out my back, I'll take heavy dumbbell, 110, 120, and I'll do reps with that. You know, between my legs, grab it and come up with my legs, pull it back, shoulders back, and I do it more to correlate with everyday usage. I always picture in my head if I'm picking up a couple bags of, gravel or something for the yard. You know, I want to always have that strength to be able to pick.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to earlier. Is you're going to use that real life mechanics for something.
Yes.
So why not just be very strong at that?
Yeah.
It might not be 225 pounds, but you still have the muscles firing in unison to help you do whatever it is that you have to do. Pick up the gravel, pick up the sod or whatever the case.
Whatever it is, whatever it is that's heavy that you want to pick up and you want to walk away with.
If you don't train those muscles appropriately, and then you end up picking up a bag of sand and you don't know how to lift it, and then you're weak. You combine that, you're not going to feel good.
That's one of my biggest fears. Really, I mean, is getting to a point where you have to ask somebody for some help to go pick something up, and it's like, man,
give me a hand.
Just bury me now.
I know, right?
I mean, it's going to come. It's going to get sooner or later. We're all going to get to a point to where, we're not capable of something like we were earlier on. But I think the whole point of working out isn't to prolong it forever. It's just prolong it as long as we can.
There's a guy. His first name is Jesus. I think his first name is Javier or Jacinto. I keep getting them confused because it's his Spanish name. But anyhow, he's 82 years old. I know he's 80, and he was in Men's Health a couple years ago. He's a CrossFitter, but he's a beast. And I remember watching. He had a video of him online, and he's talking, and he's just his mannerisms for sure doesn't depict 80 years old. Like,
right.
This guy looks like he's 60 and talks and moves like. That's what I want, right? That's what I want, and that's what I feel people can achieve if you start now and you don't delay it.
Right.
I mean, it's just incredible. I've seen it before. I have clients in their late 60s, early 70s, and I always preach to the choir like, "Hey, we can do this. Look what we've accomplished." There's a woman that I work with. Her name is Kim, and she's deadlifting with two 50-pound dumbbells. She's deadlifting with 100 pounds. And then she says to me, "Is that good?" I'm like, "Yes."
Good. Yeah.
Look, this is incredible. Like your technique is flawless. I think I posted a video of her on my IG as well. But like, she's always like, "Is this okay?" I'm like, yeah.
I think that's one of that to me, one of the most important parts of being a trainer like you is the edification.
Yeah.
Let people know they're doing good.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy, first of all, to not have the confidence in yourself to do certain things.
Yeah.
And then when you do them, it's like you want to be told, good job.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. You want to feel.
I know I do.
I know I do. I mean, it's you can't always just do it to yourself. I mean, you can looking down the line, like I was saying earlier, and
Yeah.
then you've got, you know, other guys, and, you know, you're doing more reps, doing heavier weight, doing something. So you can kind of do it for yourself. But man, to have somebody come up to you, especially if it's a trainer, professional, knows what they're doing, they go, girl, you did a good job.
Yeah.
Nice.
I guess that's why when I do something at the gym, like, hell yeah, and I'm looking around, like, no one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's good.
look at myself in the mirror, like, all right.
Yeah, exactly. You know, especially if you got headsets on, you don't, you know, everybody's blocked out, and you don't know that you're going, fuck yeah.
It's real, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's an important part of people working out, to be told that they're progressing, being told that they're doing better, because otherwise, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in weightlifting. Maybe in other sports it's the same, but weightlifting specifically, you do not see daily changes.
Yeah.
I mean,
It takes a while.
it takes a while before, I mean, especially for a beginner in the very, very first, it takes a long time to see improvement.
Yeah. The strength adaptations happen fairly quickly, 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the frequency of that individual working out, but you're not going to physically see any change up until like later, at least 12 weeks in fitness. So it's 12 weeks is kind of like in 12 weeks, but that's like a hard quote unquote sell, because, you know, your birthday's coming up in a month. I don't have 12 weeks. So what if I just do the same frequency, but in a month? Like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, no, there's nothing you can do to make it go faster.
That's what I try to explain.
It takes whatever
it sucks.
it takes.
We want that instant. Like, are you sure? I mean, what if I train? Like, it's not. That's not
what
how
if
it
I do
works.
2 a days? You know, some guys in his 30s. Well, I did 2 a days when I was in high school. Yeah. Well.
Everyone's circumstances are different. Everyone's accessibility is different. So that's a hard sell to be like, yeah, you can do it in a month. I'm always like saying no.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to work. You know, it's going to take triple, double, whatever the case is.
Well, it's also too recovery. Recovery is a huge part of the whole working out, the whole physical fitness thing.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So that's the biggest thing I think we briefly touched on that last time, but that's the biggest thing I've included now is I'm still working out 5 days a week, less than 30 minutes, like literally my workouts are under 30 minutes. I'm not including the warm-up. The warm-up's anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes, but for sure then total is like about 35-ish minutes. And but every time I work out, I feel very rested. So because I know like I can't do so much and give that same amount of intensity for the following day. So therefore I have to just kind of pick apart what's important to me and just focus on that for the first 20 minutes and then save my recovery, refuel, get as much sleep as possible, and then work out again. But that's super important. Sometimes though, if I'm not feeling it, because I do wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, so it does catch up to me. Even though I work out, so let's say it's Tuesday morning, I'm pretty exhausted from training clients, and because it is exhausting, you know, critiquing people, driving energy, which I still love. I'm never going to change anything. But if I feel overly exhausted, then I'll just adjust my workout entirely. I'll just move around, but I won't say I'm going to lift anything or, you know, do anything spectacular per se. And I think that's important. I always try to encourage that to people too, because that could mean so many things to different people. Like for you, for example, like if you're like, all I have is 20 minutes, I can't do my chest routine, but you can do like push-ups and pull-ups and just do it for 10 minutes without trying to burn out. You're just doing sets of 5, 5, 5, 5, and just taking as much rest as possible. That's still considered a recovery day, right? Because you're not overexerting yourself. You just have to learn how to gauge yourself, right? But I've been doing a lot more of that since last year, but ironically now I just doing a lot more of that too, because I'm 41 and I'm training a lot more, and I want to make sure I'm still fresh when I'm with my clients and with myself too. So I've learned to come to peace with this past week. I probably did 2 full workouts, Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was shot, but I just moved around and I was just very humble about it. I didn't feel like, oh man, you know, I got to squeeze it out. Just do it. You know, I just threw the kettlebell around and just do a few pull-ups and kept it super low key. And I felt great. Like I wasn't overly exhausted. So I encourage that, man. So that's,
and I think that we're living in a period of time too, to where, you know, we have, influencers on YouTube, influencers on Instagram, and people that are talking about working out. And there's a big drive right now too. It's an all or nothing.
Yeah.
It's don't be a wimp, don't be a baby, don't do whatever, don't let your mind control you. Work past it, push past it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's some validity to that.
Sure.
But also, too, I think like everything else in life, which is hard to say because a lot of people don't want to hear it, but that's find some balance in what you're doing. I agree that, it's like what you're saying. Okay, you don't want to not do anything because a lot of times it's very easy just to go, man, I'm really tired, just not going to do anything. Just like on the opposite side of that, sometimes it's really hard to not go because you feel guilt or you feel like I'm not giving it 100% or I'm being weak or whatever. So I'm going to go force myself. So it's on both sides of it that you got to find some balance. And, and not.
It's interesting because there's so many ways I can address this, but if let's say your schedule truly doesn't permit you to go as hard as possible, you also can't say, well, I'm just going to move around 5 days a week and expect to see drastic results. At a certain you still need to move, but at a certain point, you're going to have to really look at what's happening, with your schedule and whatnot, and find a day or two and say, like, these are the days I'm going to truly commit to myself, and then the other couple of days I'm just going to quote unquote move around. So it just depends on the person, but using balance and what's the other word in nutrition that we use? It'll come back to me, but balance has so many meanings, and I don't like using that term. There has to be a balance because what does it mean?
Yeah.
My definition is different from yours.
Absolutely.
His. So people just abuse it.
Well, I think maybe that's it too, is that, my definition of balance works for me.
Sure.
Everybody's got to find their own definition of what that means.
It needs to be truthful though.
Yes.
It's not like, just got to stay balanced and then you're eating popcorn and whatever, that's not balance.
No.
You do that every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's not balance.
Yeah. And I think from just to use myself as an example, balance for me means listening to my body, but this has been, literally, I think been in a gym for 51 years.
Love it.
So I'm in and out of a gym plus different activities and so what I do these days, outrigger canoe racing, yesterday, so we have Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays are our practice days. And
That's awesome.
And they're
count me in.
Yeah, they're wild. So yesterday we did a 2.5 mile in a single man canoe time trial in the morning. So
what's the distance?
2.5 miles. 2.5 miles. My time I think was 28 minutes or something. There were other guys doing 24s. Some of the really young, strong guys were doing 21s. So it's full on effort to do it. And then that was like at 7:30 in the morning. Then at 10 o'clock, we had our 3-hour practice where we paddled. I think we did 16 miles.
Wow.
On that high rate of speed, you do like, I think what we did Saturday, we did the first stretch was 20 minutes nonstop. You don't stop. Then you take a 2-minute break. Then you do 18 minutes, 2-minute break. Then you do 16 minutes, take a break, and all the way down, all the way down to 2 minutes. And by the time you get done, it's all that, you've got your 2 hours and 45 minutes or whatever. You got 15-minute, The point that I'm making is that, so today I was supposed to race in the dragon boat races, which is happening down in Long Beach, and it's sprint racing. So you get in the dragon boat and it's 500 meters and a 200 meter, and you do that all day. You go to the next qualifying round, so. And I woke up this morning, my shoulders were sore, my back was sore. It was just, and I knew that if I were to go, and this is where my balance comes in, I have to be true to myself and not let other outside influences, whether it's team members or whether it's friends or whoever it is, derail me from making the choice for myself. And I knew that if I would go race today, I set myself up for some kind of injury. And for me, at my age, my biggest nightmare, because I get injured, I'm out for 3 months, 4 months, whatever. The comeback out of that hole for me is a lot more today than it was in my 20s or 30s. So when I say balance, I got to find my own balance.
Sure. Well, you have your true definition, so that's great. So you truly know what that means.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
Just curious, you said you did a 500 meter trial. What's your what's the time distance for 500 meters? Because I do the rower. I know it's not the same, but it's what
yeah,
relatively equivalent.
yeah, 500 meters is about
Less than
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
there's a-
It's depending on the crew,
Correct.
too. Some of you can go under 2 minutes,
The reason why I ask is when I'm doing 500 meters on the rower, on the concept rower, and under 2 minutes, and I'm smoked.
Yes.
I mean, like it's
You're done,
just to
man.
draw reference. Like it's not easy, man. I'm smoked. Like
Yeah.
holy smokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
yeah. I did. Let me see. We had to do like on the erg machine. We did a 2 minute test, and then you saw how far your distance was. And I think in that 2 minutes, I did 480 meters. I think just under the 500. And I mean, you don't have anything. You don't have anything left, man.
Yeah. And to do repeats, so that's crazy.
Yeah.
I done 500 meters, of course, standard weight distance, 1K, 2K, 5K. I think I did 7K twice, under 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was a 5K. I can't remember, but they're not easy, man. Even at that distance, like you're trying to cruise, but it won't let you. Like, oh man, you're wiped out.
And that was like the time trial Saturday morning. The same thing. The hardest part with that is you don't know unless you're doing it a number of times. Then that was my first time trial at that distance, and you don't know the pace. So for me, I'm finding like I'm all over the place on it. I'll start out strong, then I get into a nice rhythm, and I'm going. But then I'm thinking, okay, this rhythm isn't going to get me there very quick. So then you increase it, and then you gas yourself a little bit, and then you back it down. So the guys that are really, really fast, they know how to pace themselves from the very beginning.
I don't know if we talked about this last time, but are you familiar with the book, The Boys in a Boat?
I've heard it.
You got to read it. So it's about crew racing during the 30s, and basically it's in Seattle, and the time frame parallels World War II, so the upcoming of Nazi Germany, and the Olympics were held in Germany, in Berlin. I won't spoil it, but man, it talks about what you're experiencing. These group of freshmen who are just savages, their work ethics in Seattle, rowing in the rain, overcoming adversity. And then when they get to the Olympics, I mean, talk about like cheating, dude. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing story. So I highly encourage it. And if I'm not mistaken, too, they're going to make a movie on it. But it's a badass.
Yeah,
book.
that's an older book too. It's been around a while.
Yeah, I read it about a year ago, but it's a great book.
I'm gonna have to, I have to pull that out.
When you wake up in the morning, like, I don't want to row, like you're gonna reference one of the characters. No, Joe can do it. I can do it. It's a great book.
I know. Well, that was. I told one of the guys yesterday when I showed up for the practice at 10 o'clock, knowing it was going to be 3 hours, and I said, man, I was gassed on that time trial, and he was laughing because he was too, and I said, and if it wasn't knowing that everybody that did that time trial was going to be here at the practice, there's no way I'm going to stay at home. I mean, so that kind of drove me. That same kind of thing made me,
So I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but I'm looking for like a challenge. And I remember a couple years ago, the pre-pandemic, we went to Oktoberfest, and one of my friends was like, hey, I'm going to go to Baldy tomorrow. You want to come? And I'm like, tomorrow? And I'm like, but you're here, and we're here at Oktoberfest. He's like, yeah, we'll be fine. And I'm like, all right. He goes, but you better show up. I'm like, well, I'll show up. Don't worry. And then I remember, like, I wasn't drunk, but I had a few. And I get to his house at 4 a.m. when we get there, and it was difficult. The difficult is a 16-mile loop, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember getting to the top and summoning Baldy, and I was just like wiped out. I literally took a nap just because I was exhausted. And by the time we hiked back down, I just wasn't feeling well and wasn't hungover. I felt very like sucked out. Like I had like nothing. I wasn't even sweating, which was scary. So I'm like, I'm sure like I'm severely depleted in electrolytes. Anyhow, so I get home in the middle of the night. I wake up and I just start puking, just yakking. And Karina was like, "Are you sick?" I'm like, "I don't feel sick, but I just can't stop throwing up. Like there's no temperature, there's no running nose, no nothing." So I go to urgent care and I told the lady what happened, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you're super depleted." I had a hard time peeing. She was like, "You have like nothing in your system."
What?
Yeah, well, because we went on to Oktoberfest, so I
Yeah.
wasn't like fueling
weren't-
up my body appropriately. And some guys like, "You want to go?" Like, "Yeah, sure. Tomorrow." "All right, I'm there." Like,
And
the elevation sucks you up even more.
That's right.
And dude, I was the cramps in my thighs were so severe that I had a hard time standing up from my bed to my feet. I had to use my arms with full force to. I felt like I was doing a bench press. I was like, "Oh my god, my legs are not working."
Isn't it amazing what we do to ourselves?
Yeah.
Sometimes? Just
Still did it.
in the
Got
pursuit.
pictures.
Yeah, I did it. I didn't quit.
Yeah.
We had a guest on. When was Denise on? That's been 3 or 4 podcasts ago, and that's what she does. She's what I call an extreme hiker.
I think you mentioned her before. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we had her back on, and she's doing some just crazy hikes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the same kind of thing, except they're starting like at 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
And hiking through and doing 14, 15, 16-hour hikes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's nuts.
There's a thing in California called the 6 Peaks, and that's on my list. I have 3 out of the 6, and they're like the tallest hikes, tallest elevation hikes that you can do in California. Obviously, Everest is on there, but that's on my list.
Is it?
So yeah.
Yeah, when she got here, she just finished Whitney. So,
Gotcha. Not Everest, Whitney. Sorry.
Yeah. So she just she finished that
No
one.
way.
Yeah, but she was totally drained.
Yeah.
On that one, and now she was looking back now at her preparation, things that they did on the hike, that it didn't work out.
Sure.
For her. She did it. She got to the top, but she said as soon as she got to the top, all she wanted to do is turn around and come back down.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. She said she didn't even enjoy the summit because she was just so gassed on it. I think that they stopped along the way, took a nap.
Yeah, dude, it's true because you start losing sodium at a high clip, like really. And it's not because you're dripping sweat, but you're just, I don't know the entire physiology, but that's one thing I was reading. I was like, so fascinated with, like, why am I dying here? But
and she's got this down, and now she's also got another friend that is way more experienced in it, that she's doing a lot of hiking with, getting a lot of coaching with.
That's important.
Yeah. So, and their gear, she said the gear that I had that I thought was good wasn't anything compared to what, Jonah had in her stuff. I mean, they stopped to take a little bit of a break, and she pulls out like some plastic thing to cover herself and lay down and be comfortable.
Nice.
Yeah. She found some, pine needles or something.
Dude, I remember, same friend, we did another hike called Strawberry Peak, not as intense. And I have like a history with this hike because I planned it 4 times, and the first 3, one of the times I planned it, one friend bailed on me. Like I went to his house, he just never opened the door. He just, sorry, I fell asleep, or turned off my phone.
I didn't hear you.
I'm ringing your doorbell.
Yeah, he's looking up.
The second time, my friend had like a last minute, like my parent birthday celebration or something. Like, how is it last minute? We planned this for like a long time.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so the second to last time I went with my friend, and we got to this section of the hike where there was a bunch of overgrown like thorn bushes. And dude, I've never seen anything like this. Mike, it was probably at least 100 yards of these overgrown thorn bushes. And like you literally had to like, and from the get-go, we're getting slashed. Like and I had a long sleeve, and it tore like my long sleeve shirt. And we went probably a good 40 yards. And I remember like it was tearing through our clothes. And I was telling my buddy Juan Carlos, like, hey man, well, actually he brought it to my attention. He's like, I don't think we're going to make it. Not because we can't, but there's no way we're going to get through this, because then we got to come back through this. And I'm like, damn it, dude. Every time I try to do this hike, something happens.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I didn't argue. I'm like, yeah. So we come back, and as we're coming down the mountain, we saw these 2 girls in just like in yoga outfits. And they're like, hey, is this the route? I'm like, yeah, but just warning, there's a lot of overgrown bushes. And one of the girls like, nah, we'll be fine. I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we'll do it. It's like, okay, take care. So we're in the car, and I'm like, what are the chances of them just going through those thorn bushes? So we're just like, damn, should we have gone through it? Like, I remember thinking about it all night. Like, I hope they turned around because that would make me feel like
Make you feel a lot better that you weren't the only one. But sometimes when you're doing these challenges, you have to remember we're doing them one for the challenge, the physical challenge.
Sure.
Can I do it? Can I get through it? You're going to push yourself. You're going to drive. But there's an aspect of it too that's supposed to be fun.
Exactly.
And if you're doing something that is so painful, what's the point of doing it?
Yeah. Do these thorn, but dude, they were sharp.
Yeah. I mean, that's different than, say, if you're an ultra marathoner and you're going to do 100 or 150 mile run over X number of hours and do it. Okay, there's a lot of pain involved in that.
Yeah.
And you're doing that and you're accepting that's all part of it. But when you're going to do a hike, thorn bushes aren't a part of the equation. So when you hit that and you don't see any end in sight, and then you realize too, you got to come back down through it the same way. I mean, it's like, okay, this isn't fun.
No, I wish I would have took photos of it because it was gnarly. I had a beanie and a hoodie, and we both did, and we just covered ourselves and just plowed through it. We didn't get very far. I mean, 30 yards max, and we couldn't even see like the end of it. It was like that overgrown.
Yeah.
Like, damn, this wasn't on the notes of the,
Yeah. Did you ever stop and think maybe it was the wrong trail?
It wasn't until after, because I was using All Trails, which is an app that you can use to like map hikes. I was reading the info after the facts, and a lot of people saying that they encountered the same problem. There's 2 routes to it, and we just decided to do this particular route for no reason, and let's just go this route.
Yeah.
But when I did it finally the last time, I did the opposite route just to prevent the thorn bushes.
Yeah.
But it was well worth it though.
Yeah. I think I've never really, done a hike per se. Done simple shit like go out to Chino Hills and go hiking in the hills or something like that.
I love it, man.
Which is hard enough. Sometimes you go up, some of those hills are pretty damn steep, but they're not. Put it all in perspective. There's an end to it, and you can be done in an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Yeah.
When you go do the hikes like what you're talking about and what Denise was involved in, and you're out there for 10, 12 hours or longer.
But she is. But still, that's what I want to get into. I love the outdoors. Like my parents always exposed me to hiking, beach, camping, blah, blah, blah. So that's like, I love to do. One last hike adventure that I did was in Laguna. It's called Top of the World.
Yeah.
It's only a 2-mile loop,
but
it's pretty steep. And I remember been wanting to do it, but my schedule never permitted it. And I remember this one particular day I had a big gap with my appointments, and I said, I'm going to do it. This is perfect. And I get there, I get geared up, and I see this old lady walking, and she's like, are you going to do this hike? I'm like, yeah, it's only 2 miles. She's like, what do you put in your backpack? Oh, it's a 30-pound plate. She goes, you're going to walk with 30 pounds on your back? I'm like, yeah, why? She's like, I can barely walk on my own. But
that's grueling. I used to mountain bike up that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Dude, there's a lot of mountain bikers,
Yeah.
They're like flying off.
Coming down?
Yeah.
Man, that's fun stuff.
I'm not remotely, I'm terrified of that. I see these guys and they're like hopping off boulders and whatnot. You guys are crazy.
Yeah, they really were. See the broken collarbone? Yeah, that's, mountain biking.
Yeah.
That's but that was that was so much fun. It was painful because I would mountain bike some crazy places.
Yeah.
But oh my God, it was so much fun.
No, man.
Yeah.
I'm better on my feet than on the pedal.
Yeah. But
John, I just wanted to check and see if this is what you were talking about that you had to hike through.
I don't remember the flowers, but that definitely kind of looked like.
Holy shit.
See, that's cactus though.
Yeah, it's called a strawberry hedgehog cactus. And it looks like it may be like, part of that region.
Probably.
So I wasn't sure if maybe that was it, but I'm like, damn, son.
Hey, I'm telling you what.
But it was taller than me though. That's the thing though. I couldn't see above it, through it. Like it was like.
It doesn't matter, man. Thorns are thorns.
I'm telling you, man.
That shit hurts.
I can take pain, but that was like,
well, that's nonstop.
You're right.
And then there's no end to it. You don't know.
Then you have to come back down through the.
You don't know if it's another 20 yards and I can work
it's not
my
like
way through it.
There's a flag. So I'm just guessing here, right? Because we see the top of the hill, and I'm like, okay. I mean, we're kind of there, but I don't know where this is going to lead us to.
Yeah, you know, and then every yard that you take forward is another yard you got to come back.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you get to a point, I can't do this anymore. All that shit that you muscled through,
Yeah.
you got to go back.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't think that that's part of the equation when
Nah,
it
it
comes
wasn't.
to that's yeah. I know the thing that Denise is doing now. I was looking at her Instagrams, and now she's during the wintertime she was totally into hiking in the snow. So she's got snowshoes, she's got the clamp-ons, she's got, I mean,
That's legit.
oh man, they're walking, and they got the helmets on, they got the lights on, they got it all. You know, they're
Good for her. Not
yeah,
interested in
yeah,
that.
yeah, there she is right there, man.
That's super cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, she's
This is Strawberry Peak, actually.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
So she did it in the snow. Looks like I'm going to have to do it too now. See?
yeah,
Now you're
see,
showing me.
yeah. Denise can do it.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. And then down at the bottom where it says liked by Jonah, Jonah is the one that is her coach.
Got it.
You know, they're
Look
two-
at that. Is that Strawberry Peak too? That's San Gabriel Mountain. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, it's beautiful up there. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
She loves it. I mean, she would rather be up there doing that than pretty much anything, I think. She's
Nice.
yeah, she's a crazy girl.
Nice.
Yeah, she was a fun podcast, but
Well, let me know when you're ready, Mike. Well,
yeah.
I know where to go now.
Yeah, we'll use Denise. She'd be our guide.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that'd probably be fun. But again, you know, it's all about training, and it's about preparation, and it's about being. You know, you can be as well trained as you want to be in the gym,
Yep.
but until you step out in the real world to do something, it's a whole new arena.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like kind of what you said. So it's easy to go to the gym and move around and whatnot, but it's also what counts is when you step out the gym,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So what are you doing at home? What are you doing, for work in terms of like refueling yourself? Blah 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 blah. We talked about this several times, but that's also important too. You can't just go to the gym, jump on the treadmill, and expect, well, I did my part.
Yeah,
It doesn't always quite work that way, and I think that's something that is, in my opinion, common sense. And I think people need to really be more transparent with themselves, with understanding where their start point is and where they need to be. So that's one of the biggest things I've changed personally with myself and with just my interactions with my current clients and prospective clients and et cetera, just being transparent and just laying out like a real timetable of like, this is where we could be if you allow me, like how I can guide you. And I'm always looking to grow as a coach, as a person. So I just like this particular journey. I don't like to settle myself personally. And
right.
I think I'm connecting with my client, even my current clients. I'm never shy to admit like if I don't know anything or if I'm not sure, because you have to be transparent. But at the same time, as an individual, a client, they also need to know, they need to be truthful with themselves in terms of like where they're starting, and what their goals really are or should be. It's easy to say I need to lose weight, but not really have any context behind it or any like true emotion, like deep rooted, reason behind it. So
Yeah, I think that's where personal trainers have really grown and changed over the years. We're in the very beginning of personal training. It was sets and reps and cardio and less calories in, more calories burnt out. And, that the real simplistic way of looking at training. Then it's really interesting today that it's become really a lot more scientific with a lot more thought put into it.
life coaching-ish type
Yeah.
of thing, because it's easy to be in the trap of being a brand new trainer, and you're obviously going to be, okay, let's do this exercise, 3 sets of 10.
Yeah.
But the thing is with coaching, the analogy I like to give with regards to personal training is like a sushi restaurant. There's some good ones and there's some bad ones. And the bad ones aren't always bad because it's just shit. It's just maybe there's a new business, new company, a new way of doing things. But the more enthusiastic you are in your profession as a coach, the more you'll start to see like the true colors of the industry. So that's where the quote unquote coaching starts to become more as a viable tool to help an individual, right? Now, when you design a program, it's no longer 3 sets of 10. Now you look at the program, you're looking at what's happening in the gym, out the gym, the interaction between the coach and the client. That's where it should be headed, and it's slowly. You know, it's hard because there isn't schooling per se. Yeah, I got my degree in kinesiology, but kinesiology is its own identity. It's a stepping stone for occupational therapy, physical therapy, possibly chiropractic. It doesn't totally prepare you like, whoa, now you're ready to go into fitness. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
And then when you go into fitness, you know, you got to be nationally certified. There's some great organizations out there, fantastic. But at the same time, it's all book education, right? There's a lot of moving parts, and I know it's hard to write a book or a manual to solve all problems.
Right.
It doesn't exist. But I feel things could be taught differently, right? Because again, just because you're certified doesn't also mean like, oh, I have all the answers, right?
Right.
And going on this rant because I think things are moving in the right direction, but the coach has to be eager to want more, right?
Well,
So
yeah, because also what you were saying too is that you're being more transparent,
yeah,
you know, along the way. But also you have to expect the client to be more transparent with what they're doing.
yeah,
Not just doing in front of the coach.
yep,
What are they doing when they're not around the coach?
Yeah.
And be honest, because that's going to affect their results.
yeah,
So if they're saying they're doing everything, but they're not doing everything, they're eating a couple of Twinkies before walking into the gym, you know, unless they're transparent, the results are going to look skewed.
yeah.
So,
So I think it's the personality test is called DISC, and as a coach, you would need to know like where you are as an individual, and when you meet a potential client, you should be able to be relatively equipped. Like you just know enough, and you should know where the client stands in terms of that personality spectrum, so you know how to coach them. Because once you truly adopt that coaching suit, you know, when I'm wearing that coat now, then you feel more confident having these conversations with, well, why aren't you eating this? It's not going to seem so aggressive or attacking.
Right.
It's just going to be a question like, hey, you know, it's okay, but do you mind elaborating why that is? You know, why'd you did that?
yeah.
And it doesn't. The client is comfortable because now they trust you. Like I trust that Mikey's not going to talk down to me. So those are the things that are very, very important that I've been trying to change. I'm always looking to improve my tactics, but I feel very confident with, you know, making these changes to better my clients, better myself, better my clients, and I like what I'm seeing. So
Yeah.
and I'm always asking them too. I'm just being upfront, like, hey, let me know if you like what we're doing, because I talk a lot, so I want to make sure they know like I put a lot of thought in what we're doing. So I'm always asking them, was this cool? Did you like this? We can change it. You know, did you see the difference? Like,
Right.
give them the platform to, you know, to chime in on. So
Right. Right. Yeah.
there it is.
Uh-huh.
Dominant, influence. See, D is dominant, I influential, S is steady, compliant. Yep.
So what does that
So
say? What does that represent?
It just basically enables you to identify where you're at in the spectrum in terms of like how you communicate or how you like to communicate with an individual. So like for me, like my friends will say like, you're very like direct. I am very direct, but I'm also very sensitive as well. So even though I'm direct, I have to be direct and sensitive. It's not just one or the other. There's a lot of blend, just like body fat, right?
Right.
You know, you have the mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph, but we know that no one's just one type of body frame. There's a lot of overlapping, and same thing with this, because just understanding where the person's kind of leaning towards, and once you do, you just have a better idea of how to communicate and interact with someone.
So
It's dope. It's dope. It's pretty cool.
So it's kind of like a spectrum.
Yeah.
You know, where everybody's in a spectrum.
Right. So to just give you a clear example, so let's say you're CEO for, you know, this high profile company. I know that you're not sensitive. Like you're like the big shot.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to talk to you like, okay, Michael, so today I'm going to grab some cucumbers and put them on your eyes so you can feel good. I'm going to have to, in order to break through you, I know that you're type A. And of course I've screened you, but I'm just summarizing here. So I got to talk to you like this because that's your personality. That's the only way I'm going to get to you. Because if I talk to you any other way, you're going to discredit me in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think that knowing your client
yeah.
is probably as important, maybe even more important, my estimate is, than the actual knowledge of what you're doing too. Because if you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you can't communicate right,
Yeah.
it's not doing you any good.
Yeah.
To where if you can communicate right, your knowledge might be not as deep as somebody else, but you're breaking through. You're
Yeah.
getting them to do more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that seems like, from what you're saying, is the biggest change in personal training today, because I don't recall it being that way. I haven't
No,
really, I haven't
maybe when
really-
I first started, I was like, what is this?
yeah, what is this? No, man, it's, you know,
3 sets of 10.
Yeah, let's go.
Exactly.
Don't quit.
Yeah.
You know, let's add some more.
Yeah.
You know, that's, you know, so, and I think that helps answer a question that I wanted to ask about getting new people in the gym, getting people that are not physically active today to start thinking about, I mean, what are your thoughts? And I mean, today's world is really kind of, you know, fucked up in so
Everywhere.
many different
Yeah.
ways, you know, and when you start seeing physical fitness of, let's put it this way, when you've got the armed services changing their methods of boot camp
Yeah.
to allow lesser,
Yeah. Are we talking about this?
I-
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They lowered the standards
they
of
lowered
recruitment.
the standards of recruitment, and they lowered the standards while in boot camp, and they're not doing as much physical
dude,
activity.
I read that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so fascinated by it too. And it was not just that, it goes a step further. It says whatever the standards are, if you miss it, the sergeant or the recruiter has the ability to say, yes, Mike Lunley failed, but I believe in him. He passes.
Yeah.
They have unlimited of those free passes. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So what's the point of a test, right? It just,
Well, it's a medal for everybody, you know.
man, I saw that. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
I was-
the other part of that too is actually now police departments are taking the same philosophy,
Really?
because
I
they're
didn't know
not able to get enough recruits to come in. Number one, you can't get enough people to come in that want to be police officers given the current climate.
I know.
And then the other part of that is getting today's youth to come in fit and ready to go. I mean, in my day back, you know, 100 years ago, you went into the police academy after training for 6 or 8 months or a year or
Yeah.
whatever it took to get ready to go into the academy. Now it's like an afterthought.
Man, there's so many ways to dive into this. I mean, the safest ways, it just starts from the beginning, right? From the household and how important that is. And then in the schooling system, you know, when I was in school, PE was 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Now my kids, I think it's twice a week, and they go to a private school, so I am pretty certain they get more PE than a public school.
Right.
So it just trickles down, right? So
Right.
then I think by the time you're an adult and you're like, I want to be a police officer or in the service, then it's safe to say, unless you played sports, that you don't have the physical ability to pass these. I think it's like a domino effect, right? So
Well, also-
that's just my rough. I don't specialize in any of that, but that's just my rough, oversimplistic
Yeah,
view of it.
I'm the first one to say I'm ignorant to most everything that I talk about, so it's okay. But but also too, there's a mental strength
Yeah.
that's missing, because I know that when I was going to school, you had coaches that if you weren't playing sports, you had PE, and back in my day, it was every day. You had no breaks. You know, it was not only, what's different today is like, yeah, you can go to PE, but you don't even have to change out of your school clothes, because all you're going to do is walk a circle around the, you know, they're just wanting you to stay busy.
Yeah.
Walk a circle around the track and go on to your next class, where we had 10 minutes to get changed out there, get in line. I mean, it was very militaristic.
Yeah, you know what? I remember in middle school, fifth, sixth, seventh grade, I had this PE teacher. Her name was Miss Jameson. She was super mean, but she just didn't mess around.
Yeah.
Dude, we had to run 3 miles, no problem for me. I mean, I hated running, but okay, cool.
Yeah.
And she was on you, and she was on her bicycle, and if you're like on the back of the pack, you know, not trying, she will be in your ear.
Yeah.
And like now, Anyone does that? Oh, my God.
Yeah, they're gone. They're gone.
But like, she's like, what are you doing? This is PE. You got to run. You got to move your legs.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I've heard, because I'm running back and she's, I'm lapping someone. And I don't mean that to say, look at me, but I'm just, and she's like, no, we don't walk in my class. We run.
Yeah.
I can't, then we jog. You got feet? I'm like, oh, man.
Well, and that gives you an indication, too, because even back then, you had kids that weren't up to the task. And going back to what you say, okay, where does that start?
Yeah.
Does that start at home?
Yeah.
What are the parents doing? Are the parents doing anything physically active? Are they leading the way?
Yeah.
Because I'm famous for saying the same thing, about, kids will do as you do, not as you say. So if you're not active, if you're not pushing yourself, then guess what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Your kids aren't going to do it.
Yeah. It's so true, man. It is a sad thing to see. And, John Michael, my oldest, is he's super competitive. And today, specifically in baseball practice, the coach goes, all right, we're going to jog to the 200 marker and back. And John Michael's running. He's like purposely trying to beat everyone. And he's like looking back. And there's this kid who's gunning for him. And he's looking back. And you can tell he's like, no, you're not going to beat.
You're not going to do it. Not today.
I never encourage that, of course. But it's just like, it's cool because, as he was growing up, to your point is, we will work out together. Korea and I will take him on bike rides. They'll jog. Will run while they're on their bicycles. So like little stuff like that does matter. Like what you said, they have to be exposed to something. You don't have to be like the fitness expert, but they have to be, as a child, exposed to some type of movement. Otherwise, what's the incentive? What's the encouragement?
And I have to say, when he's looking over his shoulder and he sees somebody coming up on him and he speeds it up because he's competitive, there's nothing fucking wrong with that. Yeah. That's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. Okay, this idea of medals for everybody, or everybody's tied and everybody can do it. It's like, no, I'm sorry, that's not real life.
No,
that's not real life. You go to work,
16th place.
You go to work, and somebody gets a raise because they did better.
Exactly.
They're not coming to you. Well, he got a raise because he was doing really good, but we're going to give you a raise to keep you guys all even. No, it doesn't fucking work that way, man. You earn it. You get out there. Yeah. And I've always looked at sports as being kind of an overlay to real life, because it's competitive. Real life is competitive. If you're not ready to be competitive, you're not ready to work hard, if you're not ready to get out there and suffer a little bit, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yep.
That's real life. It's not this foofy little pat you on the butt and go to work and, everything's going to be okay. And you don't want to, don't worry about doing it. I'll get somebody else for you. It ain't that way, man.
Right. So the CEO of Spartan, I think his name is Joe DeSena.
Yeah.
One of his podcasts, many years, I'm sure he still has it. But one of the biggest takeaways I'll never forget is why he is a big advocate for sports. And, a lot of people have hit or miss relationships with sports, but the way he kind of summarized it was brilliant. And he was saying is sports gives the child a platform to struggle in front of an audience. Therefore, they know what it feels like to feel like rock bottom if they're struggling. And that's important for life, because if they don't experience like that type of like, oh my God, like John Michael, my son, he didn't have a great pitching outing. He was struggling. He was doing the facial. And the coach was just like, keep going. You got two more batters. But like, that's going to transfer over to life. Maybe he won't be the pitcher, right? But still, like, and I agree with it, whether it's, baseball, football, karate, I think that's important. I think that's what the sport element can provide a child when it's done correctly, of course, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I totally agree with it. It gives a child an ability to struggle and actually figure out, like, what am I going to do to overcome this? You can't pamper them.
Well, it's when you think about my philosophy, failure does one of two things. It either creates a weak person that quits and gives up and just hunkers and goes away, or it creates strength. A guy that's I am never gonna feel that again. Yeah. I am gonna do whatever I gotta do to get better. Yeah. And it does, so it's like, which one you want to be. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. It's it's failure is not comfortable when you're doing it. I mean,
it's never comfortable.
It's probably the most uncomfortable thing you do, because it affects all of your emotions. Yeah. It affects your feelings of happiness, your feelings of joy, your confidence in yourself. I mean, it attacks everything. So it's probably the most uncomfortable feeling ever.
Yeah.
But until you fail,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're made of.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And I know people know this, wholeheartedly, but they have to really embrace it and endure it. So I agree. In this book that I'm reading, I think it's called Letting Go, and talks about that briefly in terms of accepting pain for whatever it is and not trying to block it out or look the other way, is to embrace it. But what do you do from there is like you have to learn from that. Now you know what pain feels like. So the objective of the premise of the book is to know how to grow from that type of pain.
Right.
So
yeah, to where pain isn't something that you run from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you take it and you head on
Yeah.
with it. Because I think again, pain is kind of like failure. You can experience the pain and go, holy fuck, I don't ever want to feel that again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to slinker off over here and I'm going to take this easy route.
Well, that's your choice.
Yeah,
but still
I'm
gives you
not
the
going to
option.
do anything difficult. I'm not going to do anything hard. I'm not going to push myself. I'm not going to drive myself. That's pain is bullshit.
Yeah.
Or you can go, you know what? I withstood it. I got through it.
You did. You're always going to. Yeah.
No, I can do it again.
Yep.
I can do more.
Yep.
I can get more of it.
Yep.
It's I mean, the most amazing things have come from one, the fear of failure, because you know what failure is, or the idea that pain doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
And you can work through it.
Yeah.
And you can get through it.
Yeah. I think to kind of tying this back into fitness, when you're saying fear, that's a big deal with newcomers. When you kind of referenced earlier, like how do you get people to come to the gym? I think it starts with fear, right? So people are typically afraid. This is my opinion. People are afraid of failure, but it's interesting because we just need you to get to the gym, any gym that you like, a cycling gym, a Pilates gym, a commercial, something. And I think people are afraid to fail, but I feel like, what are you afraid of? You're afraid to move? Like, I think people need to really take a step back and figure out, like, what are you really afraid of? Do you really think you're walking into the gym and everyone's going to be looking at you? Like, no one cares, right?
But they don't know that.
That's something that I battle with myself, because I'm always trying to grow. Like I mentioned, like I'm trying to reach to more people and understand them more. And sometimes I take that route, but sometimes I feel like, no, man, because at the end of the day, we know right from wrong. If you pull any individual aside and you just ask them, what do you think is better for you? This soda or this Dasani water? They know. It's just a fear factor.
Right.
They're just not really understanding what fear is, and they have to just go right up to it and just
taste
say,
it.
oh, this wasn't that bad after all.
Right.
No one's looking at me after all.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think and I agree with that. But I think that the beginner going into the gym, and you see him, I'll be working out and I'll see the salesperson walking the newcomer through the gym and showing them everything. And you can see it in their eyes as they're looking around, and unless there's somebody that's just coming from another gym, if they haven't really worked out and you're watching them walk through, they're walking through uncomfortably. They're walking through feeling a little bit, conspicuous.
Yeah.
And you just know, because then the problem with today's gyms is they're selling memberships.
Mm-hmm.
They're not selling health.
Mm-hmm. That's
just,
true.
Yeah, they need the numbers. They need the money. So sign here, do this. First month payment here. This is okay. We got a contract. What's your banking, so we can pull it out of your checking account and make it impossible for you to ever quit. This is here.
1 year commitment.
Yeah, we want your commitment. Here you are. You're
If
done.
you break it, and
And basically what they don't say anywhere on there is we really don't give a fuck if you show up anymore. It's so they take it, they sign you up, they take the money, and then you're on your own. And now you see so many people walking in and don't know what to do, feel out of place. Then you got the guys that have been there forever. You got the young kids making a bunch of noise, and now they're feeling even more out of place. So what's going to happen? They end up
Drop off.
Yeah, they drop off. I always say, I don't know what this gym would look like if everybody that belonged to it all showed up on the same day. There'd be a fucking line out the door.
Yeah.
So, and that's where I feel things need to change, because We really need, and it isn't just about the gym. It's easy to pick on the gym because that's like the most obvious. There are so many things people can do on their own. Like you were saying earlier, 5 sets of 5 push-ups, you know.
It does take a long way too, though. I know it sounds oversimplistic, but it does. That's a good way to start, assuming that the person identifies to themselves like, hey, I need to do something. That's the perfect way to start. There's a bicycle, there's stairs, walking on the beach. There are options to get the ball rolling in the right direction. And kind of going back to what you were saying with gyms is, you know, I think gyms in general, I don't keep tabs on how these massive gyms operate, but, you know, I know wholeheartedly that they're trying to change their dynamic. Of course, they make money off of people not coming to the gym. But again, at the end of the day, it's like there is traditionally a welcoming or orientation service with a personal trainer. And most people look at it 2 ways. Oh, you know, Mike Nunnally's trying to sell me on personal training. Well, yeah, if you look at it that way, then yes, it is. Or you can look at it as I'm going to make the best use of, you know, my time with this individual, ask as many questions. And that's what I do with prospective clients, and just being transparent with them and just, you know, identifying them right using DISC, and then just being, you know, honest with them. Like, how do you want to use this? You know, and, you know, there's a series of things that I do to assess them and to, you know, arm them so they can have a great experience. But at the same time saying, if you do need help, though, we do have services to help you. But again, this is optional if you feel you're in a pickle, blah, 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 blah. But I think it's important for people to hear that too, because they need to have a good experience, right?
Absolutely.
And
I think it all starts there.
Yeah. And it goes down to the coach, goes down to the gym, the model, the, you know, the drive of the gym to help people, because then it's going to encourage people to want to work out more.
I always have thought, not always thought, but, you know, mostly recently, watching the trainers, and the trainers are there, and the ones that I see have actually been really pretty good. You know, especially there's one guy at the gym, I don't know what his name is, but he's an older guy, and I've talked to him a few times, and he seems to take on older clients.
Sounds like me.
But and he's really good with them, and I watch what he does, and he explains everything. So I think that there's definitely a need for good personal trainers, because there are people that just, they don't need just to be instructed on how to do it, but they also need to know that they're accountable to somebody.
Yeah.
And that's just human nature, and that's I think it's perfect for them to wind up with a personal trainer because it's working for them. But for other people that maybe can't afford the personal trainer but are new to the gym, I think that the gyms should offer some type of not a free service. You know, maybe have to pay for it as you would a personal trainer, maybe not at the same cost as a personal trainer, but somebody that's working for the gym that can take them through 3 or 4 workouts on different types of equipment, explain the equipment, how to use the equipment, you know, and kind of put them on the right path and then let them go. Because right now you see so many people just come in and just don't know. They don't know what to touch. They don't know how it works. They don't know simple things. I mean, you can be on a leg press machine, or you know, a leg extension or something, and they don't know how to adjust it to fit them. They just get on it, and they're all out of whack because it's set up for somebody else.
Right. So a few things with that. So there are gyms, of course, I'm not going to call them by name, but there's extremely affordable. So $10 a month. Everyone that I know has a cell phone. So if you can afford a cell phone, then I'm confident you can afford $10 a month. Now, let's say you need extra assistance. Well, in some gyms, they do have free classes, right? As a matter of fact, I think every gym has a group fitness class. That would suffice for the time being.
Right.
Now, from a financial standpoint, is the way I look at it is too, it's like going to school, right? So you can either, I'm going to use this analogy, but if you're going to a free school versus going to a USC, I didn't go to USC, I'm just using an example, right? You're going to work harder going to USC because you're spending a lot of your hard-earned cash, like your savings, whatever the case may be, versus I'm pretty confident you're not going to put much effort or your time on something that was given to you for free. I get where people get caught up with like, well, I can't afford it. But at the end of the day is like, you know, look at what we're spending. And I always tell people, my clients or prospective clients, is like hiring a coach, a nutritionist, whoever you want to hire, you know, a personal Pilates instructor, is just because you don't work with the person as often as you like, doesn't mean you can't afford it. Because let me tell you something, you can still work with the instructor, coach, whatever, once a week, once every other week, once a month. That still exists. So I feel like there are options. Yes, they're probably not heavily promoted, but they're there, right? A good coach would say, hey, I understand you can't afford this. Don't worry about it. We can do this instead. It's not about me just taking anyone's money. It's really about helping them where they're at. Right. So there are a lot of options, but unfortunately, they're not really promoted that way. So I kind of get what you're saying, but I want to throw that out there because there are options for people with not.
Yeah, and I think that's important that people hear that too, because there are, I don't know, I'm still just going back to the idea of the people that I see on a day-to-day basis, people I don't even know, people that I see at the grocery stores, people I see walking down the sidewalk, people just wherever that they are. And you want to just know, how did you let yourself get there? You know, and I don't want to be harsh. I mean,
sure.
Yeah, I mean, the world takes all kinds of people, but I'm thinking mostly not from a physical attractiveness kind of a platform, but more of a health platform.
Yeah.
You know, dude, you're easily 80 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
You know what that's doing to your heart.
Yeah.
You know what it's doing to your liver. You know, I mean, your whole body is struggling.
Yeah.
Just to keep itself going because you got 80 pounds of body fat that you don't need.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, it's just trying to reach people and say, make a change.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, to what you're saying is to that individual soul, how did you get there? I think it's the way you were raised, your current environment, and your willingness to learn to break out the shell.
Right.
I think that's the simplest way to kind of look at it. And it's no one's fault, but that's kind of where you look at it. Your upbringing, your current environment, are you hanging around with positive, influential people who go cycling or canoeing or running, whatever? If not, that's going to hold you back, right?
Right.
If you're a pothead, you're probably hanging around with potheads, you know, that kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
It's nothing against people who smoke weed, but it's just like same.
But
it's so true.
Whoever you see yourself, what you want to be associated with those people.
Exactly. And it's important. And the last part I want to really highlight is like your mental ability to like wanting to learn, whatever it is, like fitness, just growing, propelling yourself forward. Those are three things that's going to determine someone's current outlook of maybe overweight, their success, their career success, or whatever the case is.
Right.
But I think that's a good way to start.
Yeah.
And start from there.
Well, what do you think, you know, about social media? What do you think about, you know, just the constant bombardment of like non-healthy foods? You know, that I don't know that people are really that educated anymore in health. Because it's the unhealthy market has grown so large and is always constantly in your face and talking about it and what's easy and what's simple and what's tasty and what's whatever. You know, we all fall for it. Yeah. We all fall into it, but some people fall too far into it, and that's all that they're consuming, and then they're not thinking about the physical activity to offset anything. And you know, that's that educational part on nutrition and diet too. So
are you referring to like influencers that just promote? So that's kind of the unfortunate mishaps of the internet, right? With social media, is you can have someone who looks the part promoting something down your throat or promoting something that's not accurate. So that's something that I have to constantly face. And I'm very vocal with that when I'm meeting someone.
Right.
And I said, this is different than looking at an app designed by Nike. I'm making this up.
Sure.
Or, you know, me encouraging like this special snake oil to help lose, like that's not the case. Even if this person looks apart, like, you know, you have to, it has to be big picture. It has to be, what are you doing in the gym? Is it customized? And I'm always sharing with my clients, like, I encourage you anytime you want to look at what I've designed for you, look at it. Look at all my clients so you can see there's something for someone. It's not copy and paste, because that's very important. And I think with social media and, you know, there's, for the ladies, most lady wants to have like curvy hips and glutes, etc. And I'm looking at these influencers, the ladies, I'm just like, this is a joke.
Yeah.
You know, so the thing I'm saying, so just do that and you're going to get that. It's
No.
you probably have been doing it for 16 years and, you know, you're just packaging something together, but you know what? It sells.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
because people want simple.
yeah.
People
yeah.
want easy.
Yeah.
You know, again, it goes back to what we were saying about the pain aspect. Nobody wants to go through the pain to get to the result.
Yeah.
They just want to somehow circumvent the pain and go grab the result, and it doesn't freaking happen.
Yeah.
I saw something, and it was on Instagram, but it was one of those quick little ads, and you know, I lost 40 pounds in 30 days, kind of a thing, and it's like, no, you didn't. You know?
So a few things. Whenever you see those types of ads where a male or female lost 20 pounds and they look, shredded, or like, oh, I gained muscle too. Well, keep in mind the body fat itself, the adipose tissue, is on top of your muscle. So you didn't really gain that much muscle. You just are exposing what you had there, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't really look like that. It looks like you lost and you gained, right? I'm sure you gained a little bit, but not what the picture is portraying it to be.
Yeah.
So I say that too because to put on muscle or to get like these like very vibrant results, it takes a long time. It does take a long time. And there's a guy that I follow, and he's dating this woman. And I love this ad, or not an ad, but this post. And he was talking about like, this is how great my girlfriend looks. But guess what? She's been working on it for 15 years. So for all you ladies out there, you want this, but it's not going to happen in 6 weeks, 6 months, not even a year. And I thought the message itself was brilliant because it's true. This is what I'm trying to promote today is like, it takes a lot of time. But, you know, if you wait on it, it's going to feel like an eternity. Like you have to start and do something.
Right.
And that's the most important. And then from there, we can make it better or whatever. But
yeah, I like that. You know, that makes perfect sense. It's going to take time. It's not easy. You have to somehow they have to come into this with the idea and the attitude of an athlete.
yeah.
And an athlete isn't looking to shave 10 seconds off their, 200 meters. They're looking to shave tenths of a second.
Yeah.
Because that's an athlete. And
Yeah.
we'll work. And we'll
Yeah.
get a tenth today.
That will suffice for the next.
And we'll get a tenth
Yep.
maybe in another month or two. And they work on it. An athlete is constantly working. And then also an athlete is working on it without being in the gym, without being on the track, or without being on the bike, or without being wherever that they're at. They're still working on it because mentally they're still there.
Yeah.
And then mentally they're looking at what they're eating.
Yeah.
And what is best for me?
Yeah.
What is best for me to reach my goal?
Yeah.
That's an athlete mindset. And I think that everybody that goes to the gym, everybody that has an outside activity is an athlete. You don't have to be a professional just to be an athlete. You have to be active. I'm an athlete. I do my paddling. I'm an athlete. I go to the gym. I'm an athlete. I got an athletic mindset. And I think if we can get that relayed to these people, that you're just not a gym person. You're just not coming to the gym and working out. You're an athlete. You need to start thinking like an athlete.
Yeah.
And I think if that's maybe the first step forward for them.
Yeah. And also evaluating, if you go to the gym, how did it make you feel? Let's elaborate on that. Did it make you feel good? In what way? How long did it last for? So I'm always encouraging people, this more or less the same thing is not just the physical too, is improving like the mental, right? Is you're feeling great, right? So don't discredit that. So I want to make sure you're still optimistic. You still have those endorphins riding high. You're not going to get that unless you work out.
Right.
Or unless you move.
Right.
So sometimes I have to remind certain individuals because they're like, I don't know. I'm like, trust me.
Yeah. Or even feeling the soreness the following day of something that you did.
Yeah.
Okay. Relish in that because you hit that muscle like you were trying to hit that muscle. So now you're feeling it. And it doesn't last forever, but enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it because that's a product of your hard work, your hard effort.
Yeah. I have a client who said, well, I didn't get sore on the last workout. I'm like, yeah, well, are you looking to get sore? She's like, no, then what's the difference?
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
why does it matter?
Yeah.
But I'm always just teasing them because I'm always welcoming questions and feedback because I do want them to feel confident when they're working with me. That's my main priority.
Yeah. I think one of the other things too that's, really helpful today that's changed a lot over the years, and that's there are so many cool tools to help you track where you're at, what you're doing, your watch, my watch. My watch, I keep track of my heart rate. I keep track of, my sleep. I keep track of, there's an app on there. I keep track of miles and time on my paddling, so when you have something that you can track your workouts and you can watch, to me, it's really important for me. I watch my heart rate, what's my high when it's high intensity, what's my resting, and making sure this stuff stays, fairly similar and nothing really gets too far out of whack.
Yeah. I like the technology. I just don't use it as like a live or die.
No.
So I don't track the steps. I don't track my client's steps, but for Apple, this is a gift for me. It's cool because I have a lot of my clients with Apple Watches, and I love to see workout completed, and we just throw shade at one another. That's why I really enjoy it. I take it in a different level, but use it for what it has to offer, and as long as it's relative,
right?
And that's important, right? And I think that's the biggest thing because last time I saw you, I had a Whoop, and I used it for an entire year. I loved it. But I'm a watch type of guy. I've always liked the watch itself. So then luckily I got this. So I'm like, oh, this is perfect. It has everything I need.
Yeah. I after we had talked about the Whoop, I got one and I used it for a while and now it's in a drawer and I don't really,
So again, I use it for what it was and I literally learned a lot from it. But again, I like a watch, and I'm definitely not wearing two things on my wrist.
No, exactly.
And then what's next? Around my neck, and then where does it stop? You know?
And it's like I got a Garmin, and I like it because it's suited for a lot of things that I do. It's got a GPS on it, and it's so there's a lot more to it. But I also like it because it does track the things that I want to.
Perfect. And that's the key is making sure it's relative to the individual.
Yeah, and it's not so much stuff that's going to help me health wise, but it helps me with my passions.
Sure.
It's just like I take my my one man canoe, my OC1 out, and I'm paddling around. I like to know because sometimes you can just paddle and paddle, paddle. You got no idea how far. My watch tells me miles.
Yeah.
How far I got, and if I get on the app on my phone, it'll show me exactly the route that I took and where I was at.
That exactly. I went on a bike ride with my little one today, and I was always wondering the distance. And I'm like, oh, now I know it's exactly 3.37 miles. I thought it was more, but I was like, okay. But little stupid shit like that, I think is important because
it helps you create your interest.
Yes,
keeps your interest.
Because my son, he goes, "How far do we go, Daddy?" Yeah. And I said, I'm glad you asked. We went 3.37 miles.
Yeah. And to him, it was like, whoa.
Yes. He's trying to compute it. He's like, whoa.
I thought it was a lot further.
I thought it was a lot. I thought it was going to be 5 miles, but whatever. But it was.
Yeah. But it's, it's these little things that I think that, new people coming into the gym need to hear, need to learn, it's just to build some enthusiasm in them. And I want to see older people.
Yeah.
Start to get more enthused with taking care. It's not just the young people. Young people is a problem that I don't know what the answer is going to be to that because they just don't have they don't have the energy, they don't have the drive, they don't have the desire, the want to do it. It's like they don't put any importance at all in their physical activity. And somewhere along the line, what they don't see is that's going to catch up.
Yeah.
That's going to catch up to them. Not when you're, in your 20s, not even in your early 30s, but sometime around, late 30s into your 40s and you haven't been physically active, you're going to decline. Your legs are going to start feeling weaker. Your body strength, you're not going to be able to lift as much. You're not going to be able to push as much. You're going to be more susceptible to, different illnesses and sick. There's so much that's, when you're young, you can overcome it. But, it's when you start to get a little bit older. And what they don't see is what you do today is going to determine where you're at tomorrow.
So I do want to share something with you. So everyone at the gym knows that I work with 37, 40 to 70. That's kind of my niche, because I can relate to people. And so I remember there was a new member who signed. It was a woman. She was a girl. She was 22 or something like that. Anyhow, so I met her, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I don't do well with anyone under this age. Like, I really don't, just because I'm trying to help people, like, for the future, blah, blah, blah. And, anyhow, so I worked with her for 2 weeks, and then she just, like, disappeared. I never saw her again. And that hasn't happened to me in, I don't know, ages, maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I still, like, think about, like, what did I do? Like, what? But then I know, like, I just know, like, talking to a younger crowd, like, I just don't know how to connect with them.
Right.
So I just leave it to my fellow colleagues who are a lot younger. Like, that's you.
Yeah.
This is
You,
me.
you go handle this.
Yeah. Like,
now, do they get them to stay longer, or do they have more of a turnover than you do with a more mature group?
it's all relative, but I tend to deal with the older,
Yeah.
in my age range. And most of the coaches, I'm the oldest there.
Yeah.
So they tend to have younger
Yeah,
clients.
but do their clients stay as long as your clients do? Is there a difference between the younger clients and the
I
more
see.
mature clients?
That's a great question. I would say the it's a tough one. I would say the older clients will tend to be with me a little bit longer, but I do. Some of my colleagues, they work with younger population. They've been with them for quite some time. But I think, just out of the limb here, I think the older population are with me a little bit longer than if you're comparing coach to coach, age gap for age gap, and the
I
duration.
wouldn't really compare the coaches, because it's not comparing the coaches' abilities.
Right.
People, but it's more, do the older mature group have more of a drive?
Yes, they have more to invest
and more
in.
tenacity.
I see it.
Than the younger group who, I'm bored with this and I'm not going to do it anymore.
I say, I'm oversimplifying, yes, for the most part, but there are some younger clients that my friends are working with that are, they're no pushovers.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, yes.
Yeah.
I think that there's more, quote unquote, to lose, right? Because you have arthritis, you're older, you're 60, you're 50. The doctor said this. For the younger population, doctor didn't say anything, right? It's just you're coming in there for your own personal reasons.
Yeah.
But as you age, you have more to invest, right? Time is ticking. What's your exercise history? If they never worked out, a lot of my clients were like, I've never worked out before, and I need to do this now. I can't wait any longer. So they're more inclined to do so.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is going to be to see a younger generation embrace the physical fitness aspect, because there's too many, I think, outside influences that keeps them more sedentary.
Yeah.
Than ever before. I never had
phones.
Yeah. I never had a lot of those things. So it was more outside. It was going surfing or running or cycling or doing whatever it was. That was the choice of activity. Now the choice of activity is a lot different. It's more sedentary, and they seem to be, willing to sacrifice physical health and ability for the sedentary life.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't know too much about that, but
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you. I see what we're heading that direction, but that's kind of what I see. And again, it starts from the upbringing of that individual, and then not to sound redundant, but their surroundings. I mean, typically, if you're not exposed to movement, sports, fitness, etc., then as you age, your influence, your friends are going to be of the same nature.
Yeah.
And then when you get to your young adulthood, I mean, what's really encouraging you to break that? It can be done.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that the chances are very slim.
Yeah. Which is really too bad, because then that gets us to the point to where, first of all, young child obesity is an all-time high, but also so you're seeing obesity run through all generations.
Yep.
Every generation now is much heavier, out of shape than generations earlier on.
Yeah.
That's, I don't think that's just all tied into lack of activity too.
No,
I mean, that plays a role, but
right.
a lot of it is, is diet, nutrition.
It's important. And I think if we stop looking at kids in the sense of, I'll just feed them X, Y, and Z, they're just kids. If we can remove that, then we're off to a good start, because I hear it so many times, and I never understood what people are meaning by that. I know I'm being vague here, so I apologize, but I've heard it on numerous occasions, thousands of times, where it's okay, they're kids, and the more mature professional, Mr. Celis, is no longer going to challenge that. But in my head, I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Why do they get a pass?
And actually, you should look at it almost the opposite of, you're right. They are kids. They need to do this. They need to do the opposite of what you're saying they do. Just because they need to be able to run and go out there. They need to have that PE teacher on the bicycle.
Yeah.
And chase them down. That's what they need, because I think inherently you start seeing really young kids. If you start seeing really young kids that are in the, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, in that range right there, they want to run.
Yeah.
Because you look at them out on the playground during a recess or a break or whatever, they're not stopping.
Yeah.
They're just running, just naturally running. But somewhere along the line, that's slowly taken away from them.
Yeah, yeah. I do want to add, this goes both for the young and the old, is whenever I hear picky eaters, I'm a picky eater, or little Johnny's a picky eater. I don't say this, but I'm like, okay, where do you think that came from?
Yeah.
Do you think little Johnny took your credit card and went to, Sprouts and bought no, I mean, you gave little Johnny whatever you gave him. Right. Therefore, his pickiness grew from his exposure to whatever you gave him.
True.
And as little Johnny became an adult, what's really inclining him to now make the shift to eating, broccoli or, salmon or whatever the case may be, right?
Right.
Little Johnny's now adult Johnny, so now he's just going to eat what he was exposed to. So that's why I said in the beginning is it does start from the upbringing.
Right.
And it's very, very important. And when I hear, they're just a kid, and it's like, you have no idea the potential. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the potential is there. And that's what worries me.
Yeah. And it's really hard too, especially today where, groceries. I mean, you go to the grocery store today, holy fuck. I mean, what we used to spend $150 on for a whole week is now $400. It's freaking expensive, and that's just bare bones basic.
It's just the
stuff.
Basics. Yeah,
that's not.
It's 117. I averaged out every 3-ish, 4-ish days.
Yeah. And so when I think about that, I start thinking about lower income families that are really on a tight budget, and what's the least expensive food that they can get to put on the table to feed their family is not going to be the healthiest that they should be dishing out. And and I think that's an area that is not helping the situation with obesity.
So to that note, as Reddit, that's kind of where I'm diving into like my personal self to help individuals. And the reason our tab is so large is because I take a big chunk of that. However, you remove fitness out of the equation and you're just shopping based on health, it can be done. It can be done. If you're just focusing on necessities, it can totally be done.
Right.
And here's why. So if you go with a bag of Cheetos, right, very sort of high in calories, but like no nutrient, you're going to overeat because your blood sugar is going to go up and down, and you're in volume, you're going to end up eating a lot more, which in turn, if you're going to eat a lot more, you're going to be spending a lot more. So I'll make the argument and say like, okay, well, is eating healthy expensive? Well, it depends, because if you keep eating poor choices, you're probably going to eat more in total food, and that's going to rack up with more money spent because you're still hungry, right? So the example I want to share is like, it's about $9 a pound of ground beef, right? So that can feed 4 people, give or take. And we're moving fitness out of the equation, so that's $10, right? You go to In-N-Out, get a meal. It's $7 for one meal. So when someone says it's expensive to eat healthy, I'm like, I don't understand. So it's $9 for a pound of ground beef, right? You can make it with let's say you put nothing in there, just season and whatnot. You can still feed someone with that,
right?
Vegetables are very inexpensive. So you take that meal and you compare that with taking the family out for In-N-Out, I'll make the argument and say you're spending more money there than eating quote unquote healthy or whole, right? We just need to know how to navigate that. I agree with. Like, we need to help and encourage individuals, and what they're spending.
Educate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think education and nutrition is something that's really lacking. And it's like what you're saying, what you can do, like that's actually one of my favorite easy meals is ground beef, black beans, and
there you go.
It's a done deal right there, and
Yeah.
it's all good. But you have to know, and you have to,
Sure.
you have to
Sure.
you have to think in that direction, and that's what I'm saying is that it's really hard to get people to understand, or either they're not educated towards it, so they're thinking, well, I'll do mac and cheese tonight, that'll feed everybody. Yeah, it does feed everybody, but you're not really given the proper nutrients.
And you're going to go to bed hungry, though, because that is designed to disrupt your appetite. So even though you have a serving, little Johnny's like, Mommy, I'm still hungry. That's what it's designed to do. It's just to constantly feed you.
And that's where I'm saying that the education on those types of things really helps so that they understand, because nobody's going to the grocery store and buying something knowing, they're thinking, it's mac and cheese. This is going to fill them up, and they're going to be full, and things will be good, and it's okay. They don't understand how it actually works.
Yeah, I agree. I remember going off in a tangent, but I was at Disneyland many, many years ago with my oldest, and we were sitting down, and we're eating a green bell pepper, and him and I are just taking a bite, pass it over, just the bell pepper, and this older lady, she goes, is that a bell pepper your son is eating? And John Michael is probably 4, if that. I'm like, yeah. And then John Michael looks at it and he's like offered it to me. She's like, I've never seen that in my entire life.
Yeah,
but
it's all what you get used to.
I mean, our struggle now is like our kids, because they play baseball and birthday parties are like every weekend, right?
Yeah.
So they're exposed to cake and whatnot. And we don't hold back. I mean, we're not trying to say, no, you can't have that. But we do give them some options, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, you can do that, but you can't have everything on the table, right?
Right.
But that's the thing too. So imagine if we just let loose and didn't care. That's why I'm saying like it starts from the beginning, because I can see with my own 2 eyes like how problematic it could be.
Yeah, absolutely. But it does all go back towards the education to people. How do we educate all these people on what's going right and what's going wrong? We're back on. Thank you.
Thank you. You went pee, right?
I went pee. Yeah, it was enjoyable.
You were turning red. I'm like, you all right?
Yeah.
I kept joking. No, you wasn't.
Yeah, about to pee my pants. I should have one of those old man catheter things, and I can just sit here all fucking night.
Just where the Depends, man.
That's right.
I never knew what those were until I was 19 years old. I was working at it used to be Save-Ons. Now it's CVS.
Yeah.
And some guy was like, "Don't laugh," and he brings these Depends. I'm like, I didn't even know what they were. I'm like, I literally said like, "Why?" He's like, "Because I'm buying Depends," and I'm like, "What is that?" He's like, "You know what these are?" I'm like, "I have no idea. I know we sell them. I thought they were just like large diapers for like large people." But he's just like, he started laughing. He goes, "I like you, son." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, I didn't realize.
I've actually had to wear them.
Really?
Yeah. When I had my prostate surgery. So because once they do the prostate and then you have the catheter in you for, I want to think it was like 5 days or something like that. And then once they pull the catheter out, okay, your muscles aren't, back in form yet.
Right.
So, you will leak or you'll sneeze or you'll do something, so they, they suggested that you wear those things. Yeah. So I had to wear them for me, I felt lucky. I was only for like a week or two until, my, bladder muscles and all that stuff, start kicking back in.
Speaking of being cut open for whatever reason, I've knock on wood, I've never like broken a bone or having needed to go under the knife, but that terrifies me, man. That literally terrifies me.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, I've never really been afraid of, surgeries or going out. It's kind of weird because when you come out of it, I don't know what it is about the anesthesia or what it is that they give you, but man, I always feel so happy. I mean,
you have that high, right?
Yeah, it's not like you're really loopy high. I mean, you don't even know.
Yeah.
You just know you feel good and you're happy and you're joking and things are. I mean, life is good at that point.
See, that would even freak me out knowing that I'm gonna go like pass out with anesthesia.
Yeah.
I remember I was 19 years old, And my mom, this is a true story. I share this with everyone. She tells me, she goes, "Hey, tomorrow you're going to go to the dentist." I'm like, "Okay, why are you telling me this formal or like dramatic?" She goes, "So make sure to tell Joel, which was my best friend at the time, to take you to the dentist." I'm like, "Why would I do that? I can just drive over there." She goes, "Because, you might be on medication." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So then I call my friends, like, "Yeah, okay, no problem." So I get there. And the dentist's like, "Oh, are you ready?" I'm like, "Ready for what?" She's like, "We're going to get rid of your wisdom teeth." I'm like, "Really?" I was like, "My mom didn't say anything." I even said, like, "I think I need to call her." Like, no. We're doing this today.
We're good.
And I'm like, so confused, right? It's typical mom. I'm like really confused. I'm like, "All right, how does this work?" Like, we're going to lie down. It's going to take a while. And so there was 3 doctor or dentists in there. And they kind of put like a bib on me. And, I shit you not, man. One dentist put their knee on my shoulder, like their knee on my shoulder. I'm like, "You ready?" I'm like, "All right." And they gave me shots. And then I said, like, "Aren't you guys supposed to make me go to sleep?" Like, "No, your insurance doesn't cover it." And I'm like, "So I'm going to be awake?" They're like, "Yeah, but you won't feel a thing."
Yeah.
But dude, and they literally I was awake the entire time. And I saw like blood squirting everywhere. And I was pretty traumatized.
It's wild. Yeah, I had 2 of my wisdom teeth taken out the same way. I didn't get knocked out. They just
Really?
gave me locals. Yeah, that's the weirdest thing because as they're pulling it out, your head's shaking.
Yeah,
all
so
over the fucking place.
I'm not making this shit up.
No,
Dude, he had pliers, and
Oh.
one dude had my head, like his hands were on my forehead, and he's like, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. And then, they said, "Yeah, we got you all numbed up. You won't feel anything." So they're in there, and it's just the one doctor and a nurse sitting there, and my head's going back and
That's
forth, and I feel
wild,
them pulling. I can feel the pressure.
Right, but
but I wasn't feeling until they almost got it out, and it pulled on the nerve, and it's like put me through the fucking ceiling.
Really?
Oh my God. He goes, "Oh, you feel that?" No, fuck yeah, I feel that.
my-
I mean, say, okay, they gave me some more shit, and it was like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't recommend that for anybody. It's a good war story for us,
Yes,
but if you get the chance, you get knocked out. Do it.
But anyhow, I don't know why I'm sharing that, but that was
Yeah,
pretty
that was-
dramatic for me.
That's what we do. We share shit. But hey, all this conversation that we're having
Yep.
about fitness and about the inactivity of people and the accessibility of fitness for people and nutrition. And, there are so many areas that we can cover that we can't cover all.
Yeah, you can go so many directions.
Yeah. And what would you think about coming on the show, but under another show heading? And we'll do it regularly, and we're just going to make it all about fitness and health, nutrition, guidance, to help people, go down the right path, and, in kind of in a way, personal training behind the mic.
Yeah.
You'd be up for that?
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. Let's do it.
I think, we've known each other a long time, and I think that both of us together, my experiences as being an athlete and working out for over 50 years, and yours as being a personal trainer and being educated in it, and your love for it, because it shows, because you're constantly looking and learning and the new directions of what to do. I think it's something that would really help a lot of people.
Yeah, we can stick to specific topics and just kind of hammer it home on specific topics. I can, staying current. That's what I do, staying current to the current events of the health and fitness industry. We can answer or go into like the latest trend or the newest apparatus or, kettlebell or barbell. Like there's so many cool things to talk about.
Right.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. I think so. And I think we'll use this podcast, which I think has been really a great podcast. It's opened up the door for a lot of different conversations, because we hit on a lot of different topics within the arena of health.
Yeah.
But I think we'll use this podcast to kind of, put it out there. Hey, look forward to an up and coming show with, with Mike and John, and on a regular basis. And we'll figure out, what that regular means.
Sure.
But, we'll keep them short so that they're not long podcasts that people have to listen to, but they'll be, full of information and,
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I definitely want another crack on outlining nutrition for children. I
Yeah.
just feel like I'm being vague, and there's just so much we can talk about. But I think it's a great idea, and there's so much I want to put in detail, like a step by step, or do these couple things to kind of get things rolling.
Yeah, I
But,
think that the nutrition for children it would be a great jumping off point.
Yep.
But also too, I think that physical activity for children is
100%.
because you don't have to sign. Not everybody's designed to be, and this I think been an issue for adolescent sports activities is everybody automatically goes to the team sports.
Sure.
Let's go football, soccer,
Yeah,
baseball.
the big ones. Yeah.
The big ones. That's where we got to go because that's where all his friends are at.
Exactly.
Or her friends. Want to
Exclude.
Yeah, I want to exclude and be gender, specific. But it's where kids go more likely is to volleyball and baseball or softball or soccer or whatever. And there's a lot of other ways for young kids.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even like my passion, outrigger canoe. There's a youth program to get kids in the boats and paddling at a really young
that's
age.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and and they're tutored and mentored by experienced people, and it puts them in a program that and the same thing with crew. You want to row? There's young programs for kids that you can do that, or you learn to surf, or you can go run. There's so many things that I think that we can talk about that
100%.
That I think that just kind of go unmentioned.
Yeah.
So
I'm on board.
Right on, man. I think that'd be good. That'd be exciting. We'll get Brian to do some work.
I don't do enough for you already. Good Lord.
You don't even begin to do enough for me. It's called payback.
I'd like to see you do all this without me. How about that?
There you go. Yeah.
Just have your phone on camera mode and just
I know. Yeah, we
have on revert.
Yeah. I've got my GoPro around here someplace. You'll be. Yeah. Of course, I wouldn't know how to get it out of the GoPro, and I'd be calling you. Okay, I need you, Brian. I love you.
Bromance.
I know. Oh God. So, all right, man. I think that's a perfect way to tie things up. A great podcast. I really appreciate you coming in, talking about it.
Yeah.
And then
you.
we'll get some stuff together and we'll start a whole new venture.
Yeah, let me know. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Oh, you already committed now. We got it. We got it all on tape. It's not called tape anymore, is it?
Cassette tape, right?
Yeah.
It's been called tape since like the 90s.
Really? This isn't going on an 8-track, huh?
No, you can't hear it rolling in the corner over here. You can't. That's because it's not there.
Everything's on the cloud.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I felt old before, and now I feel really old. Yeah, fuck you both. All right, Johnny. Thank you, brother.
All right, brother. See you soon.
See you, man.